Hello friends, welcome to Hacktricks. In this channel, I'll try to show you some cool tricks in MS Excel and other office applications. Hope you guys enjoy it. Please do subscribe to my channel and share this video with your family and friends. So let's get started. Alright friends, so as I told you in the last video, today I'll try to show you some Excel feature that will help you to analyze the data. So the tool what I'm talking about is what if analysis. What if analysis is an inbuilt feature of Excel that helps you to analyze and forecasting data by using scenario, goal seek and data table so that user can take appropriate decision. Now let's see where what if analysis is located. It is located in the data tab, what if analysis. So what if analysis has three main components: scenario manager, goal seek and data table. So let's go one by one and see what we can do with these three components. Right, so first component is scenario manager. So scenario manager is a feature where you can create various scenarios and check the outcome just by tweaking few fields in your data set, and hence no need to rebuild the entire data set to see the outcome. So let me give you an example. So as you can see here, an arbitrary project we have taken, that is project Vista, for which we are assuming our initial investment would be 14,000 and our cash inflow would be 6,000 at the end of year 2, and after that it would grow at 5%. So as you can see from the formula, it would grow at 5% year 2 onwards, and our rate of interest is 12% and such that our NPV is 4913. Now what if we are assuming that in a scenario that our initial investment would be lower or higher than we are currently assuming, or what if our inflow is lower or higher than what we are currently considering? Similarly, for rate of interest, it would be higher or lower. Now we can see the picture that how our NPV would be affected based on our assumption if our initial investment would be higher or lower and inflow would be higher and lower, or our rate of interest higher or lower. How we can do that? We can check that by using scenario manager. In scenario manager, we will be able to create some scenario and check how our NPV is getting affected by our assumption. So instead of creating the entire data set, that is changing the inflow, outflow and so on and so forth, we can create some scenario and get our desired result. Right, so in scenario, first once you click the scenario manager, this dialog box will pop up. Now if we click on add, it would ask you to give a scenario name. So for example, in first case we will provide a scenario name as normal, and changing cell. Changing cell means the cells or the field of your data set which you want to change in order to get your desired result. So for example, in our case, we will try to change initial investment, year 2 inflow and growth rate, and also our rate of interest to check how our NPV is getting affected. Right, so in change cell, first we'll select initial investment and then control click year 2 inflow, control click on growth and control click on return of investment. Now hit OK. So in our normal scenario, we want our initial investment would be minus 14,000, our second year inflow would be 6,000, our growth would be 5% and our rate of interest would be 12%. Right, so click on add to add a different scenario. Now we want to create a best case scenario. Let's name it as best. The changing cells would be same, hit OK. Now in our best case scenario, we are expecting our initial investment would be lower. It would be around 12,000 and our inflow would be higher, for example 6,200. We want our growth rate to be, we're expecting our growth rate to be 5.2% and our rate of interest would be lower, for example 11.5%. Hit add to add a different scenario. Now we want to create another scenario, that is worst case scenario. In extreme situation, worst, changing sale would be same as earlier. In worst case scenario, we expecting our initial investment to be higher, for example 16,000. Our initial inflow, that is at the end of year 2, it would be lower, for example it would be around 5,200, and our growth rate would also be lower, for example it would be 4.5%. And we want our rate of interest to be higher, for example it would be 13.5%. Now hit OK. So as you can see, we have created 3 scenarios: normal, best and worst. Now if we click on normal and click show, it would be unchanged, as you know, as we have kept in our normal scenario the original data. Click on the best and hit show. Now in our best case scenario, just by tweaking initial investment and year 2 and growth rate and return of investment, we are seeing our NPV has been changed to 7558. So in our best case scenario, as we have anticipated, our initial investment would be lower, that is 12,000, and our initial outflow at the end of second year it would be 6,200, and year 3 and year 4 and year 5 it would be growth at 5.2%, whereas our return of rate of interest was lower, that is 11.5%, such that our NPV is 7558. Now what happened in our worst case scenario? If you click on the worst and click show, in our worst case scenario our NPV has been drastically changed to 228. So as we can see, we have created 3 different scenarios and without changing the entire data set or rebuilding the entire data set. Right now, one more thing we can do, we can get a clear summarized picture of these 3 scenarios. How? By clicking on summary. Now result cell, you have to choose the cell, result cell, that is in our case the NPV is our result cell, and hit OK. So one new tab has been created, that is scenario summary, where you can see normal case scenario, best case scenario and worst case scenario. It is a summarized form our entire 3 scenario. So as you can see, in our normal scenario we are getting 4913 as our result, that is NPV. Best case scenario we are getting NPV of 7558, and in worst case scenario we are getting an NPV of 228. So that was scenario manager. Alright, so in our next example we are going to see goal seek. So goal seek is a feature where you can see your desired result by tweaking or altering only one field in your dataset. So it may not be that useful where multiple factors play a critical role to derive an outcome. So goal seek is located at data, what if analysis, goal seek. We are continuing with our existing example, that is project Vista. Now once you click on goal seek, these pop-up will appear. Here 3 fields are there: set cell, to value, by changing cell. So let's go one by one. Set cell means the ultimate result cell which you want to see. For example, in our case we want to see our NPV to be, for example, 5,000, and by changing cell means the cell which you want to alter. So for example, we want to change our rate of interest and hit OK. So as we can see, at rate of interest 11.79%, if all other factors are same, we can get an NPV of 5000, right? So let's take another example. If we set our cell to NPV and true value this time would be 6000, and we want to change this growth rate, hit OK. As you can see, at a growth rate of 9.49%, we are getting NPV of 6000, whereas our initial investment and rate of interest is same, correct? So this is goal seek, where you can only change one field at a time in your dataset to get your desired result. Alright, so last feature in what if analysis, we have data table. In data table, you can visualize your outcome by altering two factors at the same time in your dataset. By saying visualize, I meant a data table format, not a graphical format. So having said that, taking our same example, that is Project Vista, we'll be seeing how data table will work, right? So in order to make data table work, we need to set some ground rule. For example, we want in our example how the growth rate and interest rate would impact in our NPV. So two factor, growth rate and rate of interest, we want to tweak it, we want to change it and see how it would impact our NPV. In order to do that, we will be plotting the growth rate in the column and rate of interest in the row. So let's do that. For example, we will be setting our growth rate is 4%, 4.5%, 5%, 5.5% and 6%. And in our row, we'll be taking rate of interest, assuming to be 11%, 11.5%. So this needs to be right, and this to be in the 2 decimal, 12%, 12.5% and 13%. So as you can see, we have plotted the rate of interest in the row and the growth rate in the column, and in the top left corner, this cell to be linked your desired outcome, that is in our case NPV. Please note, we have to link it to our desired result cell, and you cannot manually put or paste the value in that cell. You in order to make the data table work, you have to have linked that cell, right? Now once you select the entire range and go to what if analysis data table, this pop-up will open. Now in this pop-up, you can see we have to define two value. One is row, another one is column. So in our row, as we can see, we have selected the rate of interest. We will select the rate of interest, and in the column we have plotted the growth rate. Once you properly link those cells, if you hit OK, as you can see, the data has been populated. In order to make it more presentable, we have taken rounding off to 0, and as you can see, in our growth rate of 5% and existing rate of 12%, it is coming to the middle, that is 4913, and by changing the different growth rate and different rate of interest, we are getting different values. So this is more presentable when you set it as a heat map, as you can see. So in the lowest interest rate and lowest growth rate, you can see our NPV is 5100, and the higher rate of interest and higher growth rate, we are having 4731. Now what if we want to change our initial investment and rate of interest and see how these would impact in our NPV? Let's do that. Now in the second scenario, we will be plotting initial investment in the column. So we are assuming our initial investment would be for example 16,000, 15,000, 14,000, 13,000 and 12,000, and our rate of interest would be same as before, that is 11%, 11.5%, 12%, 12.55% and 13%. Right. Now once again we have to link our desired outcome cell, that is NPV, and we'll be selecting this range, data, what if analysis, data table. We'll have to define the row. In our row we have selected rate of interest, in our column we have selected initial investment, hit OK. Now as we can see, 4913, that is in our existing example 14,000 and 12% interest, we are having NPV of 4913. So if we assign a heat map over here as also, we can see, so worst case scenario where rate of interest is higher and higher initial investments, we are getting lowest NPV 2733, and where our rate of interest is lower and our initial investment is also lower, we are getting highest NPV, that is 7145. By this way you can analyze your data. So that was what if analysis. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. See you in the next video. Please do subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and family, and if you have any suggestion or any particular video or particular solution you want, then please write down in the comment section. See you in the next video.